Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to share the 50 days strategy for the Maharashtra MBA CET 26. Now, as most of you are aware, Maharashtra CET is going to be conducted twice this time. So it is going to happen in April and then once in May as well. And ideally, you should be taking both the attempts. But this plan I have created keeping in mind that you're going to take the first attempt only. So if you're somebody who's planning to take only the first attempt, this is the 50 days plan that you can follow. Now, as part of this, I'm also going to share some tips with you as to how you can optimize your preparation. We are going to have a version of a plan rather, which is going to be pretty intense. So this is not for faint-hearted, but if you're somebody who wants to take things a little slow, you want a basic plan, I have also some pointers as to how you can do that. So make sure that you watch the video till the very end. Now, if you're planning to take the second attempt of CET as well, you just need to keep a few mocks so that you can use it between the first attempt and the second attempt. There's almost a month between the first and the second attempt. So what you can do is if you are an IMS student, you have 20 IMS mocks plus the 6 mocks that are offered by the Maharashtra CET Cell. So assuming you're going to take all of them, so let's say 26 mocks, one plan could be to take about 16 to 17 mocks for your first attempt and then keep the remaining say 8 to 9 mocks for your second attempt. That is one way to go about it. If you're planning to take only one attempt, then you can exhaust all 26 mocks. So the number of mocks that you see in this particular schedule, you can always change it as per your preference. That is completely up to you as to how you want to structure it. Okay, but the elements that are important, you have to keep that in mind more than anything else. And some of you could be watching this video with less than 50 days to go as well. So what you should do, I'm going to cover in this video. Okay, so let's get started. So what if you're watching this with less than 50 days to go? Okay, now some of you will be watching it at the time it is getting released and we have slightly more than 50 days to go. But what if you're watching it at a later point of time? One simple thing is that you can create your own plan. So you don't really need somebody to give you a plan as such. If you just take care of the fundamentals that are there, right? So you'll be able to create your own plan as well. Just make sure that you show it to somebody, maybe your mentors at your IMS center. And if you need any clarification, you can ask them, or you can leave a comment on this particular video with your plan, and I will get back with what you can do. So couple of things. Firstly, you will have to determine the number of mocks that you're going to take, because that is very, very important. That more or less decides how you're going to structure your plan. You should, for example, let's say you're going to take, say 10 mocks, right? And you have how many days? That is the next thing that you need to consider. Let's say you're 30 days, which means that you should be taking one mock every 3 days. Is it doable? Definitely. The number of days that you have available with you will determine whether you can sort of ease things out a little bit, or it is going to be pretty intense effort. Now, what you also need to do is you have to have a focus area for each of the days. So let's say you have 30 days plan ahead of you. You need to have a focus area for each of the days wherein, and it's also on the days when you're taking the mock. So it's not that on the day when you take a mock, you're just taking a mock and not doing anything else. So on mock days, you should be solving somewhere around 20 to 30 questions of that focused area, which means that if I'm taking a mock today and today my focus area is, let's say, LR, I will be doing the full length mock plus I will do, let's say, 20-30 questions of logical reasoning. On non-mock days, which means the days when you don't have a full length mock, on those days you can take things a little light. Maybe you can do 50 to 60 questions. If you want, you can always increase the number of questions. So see, the plan that you create has to work for you, and that is why there's no one fixed plan that will work for everybody. Everybody will have different strengths and areas of improvement, and basis that you'll have to decide what plan you want to create for yourself. Now, what is also important is that you have a few days that you keep which are a little relaxed, maybe days when you take complete break, because CET is a test which requires you to solve a lot of questions, and students end up burning out. So to avoid that, make sure that you're taking regular breaks as well. Of course, not too many breaks, you don't have a lot of time. And one very important thing is that detailed analysis that you do of all these mocks and the questions that you solved and the concept clarity that you get is far more important than the volume of questions. So I've seen students thinking that they need to take 30, 40, 50, 60 mocks, etc. We have had cases in the past where people have enrolled for 2, 3 different test series. You don't necessarily have to do that, right? And some students may benefit from that, but it's not going to work for everybody. And I will say, if you have taken somewhere around 20-25 mocks, as I said, IMS mocks plus the mocks that are offered by CET Cell, If you take all of them also, that's going to be good enough practice for you. You don't need more practice. The conceptual clarity is definitely far more important, because every mock that you take after a particular point of time is not going to give you a lot of benefit, right? It is just helping you to practice more questions, of course, and also giving you a feel of those sitting at one place for 2.5 hours and taking a test, but not necessarily helping you to gain in terms of your score, right? So that is why you need to also, when people say that you should be taking more mocks and mocks, also understand that it's not just about the number, right? So otherwise everybody would have taken, let's say, 60 mocks. I mean, we could have offered 60 mocks, but is it required? The answer is no. Okay, so be logical about this whole thing. So let's begin. Now the plan that I've created, I've split it over 7 weeks, and what I've done is I've put focus area as well. So in the entire plan, and what I'll do is I'll give you an Excel sheet. So in the description, we'll put a link from where you can download the Excel sheet, and you can customize it as per your plan. But what I've done is I've taken care to incorporate individual focus areas depending on the weightage that they have in the actual test as well. So you'll see more days with LR focus compared to, say, AR focus. Now, what I've also done is I've added which mock you should be taking, assuming you have not taken any mock at this point of time. So people who have not taken anything can also use this plan. But if you've already taken some mocks, what you can do is on those days, let's say you've already taken SimCET 1 and SimCET 2, instead of having it on 15th Feb and 18th Feb, maybe you want to have your, let's say, SimCET 3 on 17th Feb, and then you space things out. So you can always customize it the way you want to have, but just ensure that you're taking at least, I would say, 1 or 2 mocks per week to begin with, if you've already taken a few mocks. Now, if you don't want to have like an intense plan, you can have a basic plan with about 600 questions. So first week, ideally, you should be doing about 600 questions. That should come from something like a 2 mocks plus practice question combination. So you do 2 full-length mocks, and then you do additional practice questions. So this is a theme that I've followed for the rest of the weeks as well. So in this week, for example, you will see on the first day itself, which is 15th Feb, you see SimCET 1, but you see 240 questions. What do I mean by that? The full length mock will give you 200 questions. The remaining additional 40 questions will come from LR. Now, where it will come from, say, my IMS, it will come from ADMAT masterclasses, it will come from the courseware that is given to you. It could be class exercise questions or practice exercise questions. So whatever material you have, you could be even a non-IMS student. Whatever material you have, you can solve LR questions from that. And when I say 240, you don't have to stop at 240. Maybe you want to do 260 or 270 or even 300 questions. It's just that as long as you're not getting burnout, you should be okay and you can continue to do it. But the moment you feel that, okay, it's too much, you need to take things a little bit slowly. Then you have a slightly relaxed day. The next day, for example, you're just doing 55 questions of quant. Now, does that mean that's the only thing that you do? No, maybe let's say you haven't analyzed the SimCET 1 properly. So there are some questions that are remaining for you to analyze. So you can analyze it on the next day or the day after that. Ideally, the moment you take a mock, the moment you're done with the test, you take a break for some time and then finish the analysis on the same day. But for whatever reasons, if that is not possible, you can always do it on the next day. So typically you will not see consecutive days with mocks, but yes, that will happen at a couple of times, because what I've done is I've ensured that every Sunday you're taking a mock, because pretty much everybody, whether you're a working professional or a student, you will have a break on Sunday, allowing you to put in slightly more effort on the weekend, right? So that is why you will typically not see it happening, but the next day generally is going to be a little relaxed, which means you can do thorough analysis of the SimCET that you have taken. So week 1, we close at about 870 questions. Definitely doable. I don't think it is impossible. Okay. One day of the week, so I can see Saturday here. I have kept it as complete break because you've already taken 3 full-length mocks. You don't really have to do more in the first week. So once you sort of ease into this whole thing, the next week is a bit intense, where you have 4 full-length mocks. Now here I have put SimCET 4, 5 and 6. In addition to that, I have put CET Cells mock 1 as well. So all of you get 3 free mocks because you have registered for CET from the CET Cell. There are 3 paid mocks that are available. I think 354 rupees is the payment that you have to make for it. But I think it's worth spending that much money. So the first mock offered by CET Cell you can take on this particular day. Again, you can shuffle, you can arrange, you can do whatever with it. But I would say at least if you're taking 4 mocks in this week, that will be a pretty good idea. So total in this week, we end up doing about 1125 questions. If you're on the basic plan, you can do 750 questions, which means that I still take 3 full length mocks instead of 4, and I do the remaining practice questions. See, because not everybody will need such an effort, right? So you may think that I will be able to get a reasonable score even if I do like a 750 question kind of a thing. And if you think of it, it's not very difficult to do, because on average you're doing about 100 questions a day. And I would say for somebody who is planning to crack the CET, get into the 99 plus percentile, that's the bare minimum that you should be doing. Uh, Third week, we again have about 1100 questions. So you don't see the number increasing too much, right? We are still somewhere in that ballpark. In this, we have a little bit of intense effort because Sunday, Monday, you're taking 2 tests back to back. 4 full length tests in this week as well, 1100 odd questions. If you're doing on a basic plan, again, 600 questions can be done, slightly lesser compared to the previous week where we had about 750 questions. This is to ensure that because you're on a basic plan, anyway, you're not planning to put in a lot of effort, right? Unlike somebody who is going on the plan that I have mentioned. So you can take things a little slow because I kind of alternate intense weeks in the first few weeks, and then towards the end we close at about 750 questions every week. Then comes week 4. Now in week 4, I kept a break on a Monday. You can again change the day. Depending on your schedule, you can decide that, okay, one day of the week is break for me. That's completely okay. So don't think that you have to study or to take mocks every single day. There are students who in the past have done 2 mocks a day. I have never done it, and I don't recommend that because it's unnecessary pressure, right? I mean, there's no reason to burn yourself out too early in the game. So don't take 2 mocks a day and all. It's not going to help. I haven't seen anybody getting benefited a lot because of that. For an experiment, if you want to do it, you might as well do it, but it's not going to help much. So I have put 4 mocks in this particular week. Again, we had about 1050 odd questions that you will end up solving if you follow the plan. There are some days when you have AR, some days when you have LR, QA, etc. You can again play with that. So if you want to change it, maybe for you, quant is the area where you need to improve the most. You can have more days of quant, but again, don't over index on it. So if you have 50 days ahead of you, don't do, let's say, 30 days of quant, right? That's not something that is that you should be doing, because the weightage of quant, if you think of it, is just about 25%. So it doesn't make sense you spending 60% of your time for the 25% of the paper. Okay. Then we move to week 5. Again, we have about 1000 questions that you will end up solving on the plan that I've created, about 750, 600 if you're on the basic plan. Again, this week I've kept a break on 20th March. So the breaks are important. It's part of the plan. So don't think that these are days for you to have fun. They're essentially just to take a break and take a look at how things are progressing, right? So it's not that on this day you do nothing, but basically you reflect, right? You think about how you're progressing, what is it that you need to change about the plan. So if you need to change anything, you change the rest of the plan. Okay, that can always be done depending on how you are progressing. Then comes 6th week. We're in the penultimate week. Again, 1100 odd questions. We don't have a break day in this particular week, but you're looking at 4 mocks. And this is where the effort gets a little intense because, see, by then you have completed your prep as well. So 21st March, I put 1 mock. 22nd and 23rd, both days I put 1. So you basically have 3 consecutive days of mock taking. Post that, if you want to actually take a break, you can. You deserve it. But here we are looking at 1100 odd questions that will happen because of 4 mocks. If you're on the basic plan, about 750 questions. And throughout this, I'm assuming that you will continue to do your mock analysis very well. So on the days when you don't have a lot of effort, like this day, for example, or this day, you should do mock analysis of the past mocks that you have taken. Then comes the last week and the sort of the most crucial week before you face the actual CET. Now in this week, again, you don't want to put in a lot of effort, but at the same time, you don't want to relax. So I put about 1100 odd questions. You have one extra day because I haven't kept a plan after this because your test might be on 6th or 7th or 8th because it's 3-day window. Depending on that, you can adjust a little bit. But in this week, we have again 4 mocks. And we essentially stop taking mock on Saturday, which is 4th April. Now, if you have your test on the 6th, then you should stop here. If you have your test on the 7th, then you should ideally take a mock on the 5th. So you need to give 1 day break completely, wherein you're not doing any mock solving or sitting at one place for a long time and all of that. because by the time you reach here, you've already done that so many times that it has become the part of your routine, right? So you don't have to do anything as such. But here we will take 2 mocks of CET cell and 2 mocks of IMS to close the whole thing, complete 26 mocks plan. But as I mentioned, if you're planning to take the second attempt as well, you should reserve a few mocks. So maybe you can keep about 5 mocks of IMS and about 3 mocks of the CET cell. Those 8 mocks can be taken between the first and the second attempt of CET that you're going to take. But for somebody who is going to take only first attempt, this is the plan that you can follow and ensure that you complete all 26 mocks. So by the end of this, you would be doing almost about 1,000 questions on average every single week. You can if you're on the basic plan, you do somewhere about 75% of the effort. Okay, so anything less than that might be too little, is what I believe, if you're planning to crack the CET. To end the session, I want to cover a few tips from my side that will really help you to firstly get maximum out of this plan that we have created. Firstly, don't run behind collecting material. And a lot of students do this mistake that they will borrow, let's say, some formula book from somebody. They will gather a lot of hard copy books. They will sign up for multiple courses. They will keep watching a lot of YouTube channels. That's not the idea. You have to start executing. So even if you have limited content, right? If let's say you have joined IMS, you have your courseware, just work with that. You don't really have to have anything additional apart from it. Second is, don't skip entire topics as much as possible, right? Now, why I say as much as possible is because we still have 50 days. So I can still cover all the topics that are there. But let's say you have 20 days remaining and you haven't covered a particular topic. Let's say you haven't done probability. Now, in the last 20 days, it might not give you significant benefit to do that because you will end up spending a lot of time learning that topic for the very first time. So you might as well focus on the things that you already know. But now, because we have 50 days ahead of you, you should always try and do at least the basics of all the topics that are there, because you never know when and where the questions are going to come from. So you may have, let's say, a lot of questions from a particular area that you haven't touched. Then learn how to eliminate options. And this is very crucial as a strategy, especially in the abstract reasoning section, because rather than trying to find the right answer, if you're able to eliminate the wrong options, you will be able to arrive at the right answer. So that is why learn to eliminate options. It can be also used in, say, something like a VRC section where you can use option elimination, not so much in the quant and the LR section. Now, a lot of students keep running behind shortcuts. So they think that there's some book somewhere which talks about all the shortcuts that you need to crack the CET. There isn't such book, right? So shortcuts, first of all, only work in a few cases. So there are some specific question types where a shortcut will work, but it cannot be generalized. So not every particular question can be solved using it, right? For example, let's say when you have this product concept, right? So 33 into 37. So there is a shortcut that will work for these kind of questions, that, okay, 3, the following number is 4, so 3 into 4 is 12, 7 into 3 is 21, 1, 2, 2, 1 is the answer. But this particular shortcut only works for 33 into 37, right? But if I give you, say, 33 into 41, will I be able to use this shortcut? No. Then how do I do 33 into 41 quickly? I will have to do 3 into 11 into 41, because there is a trick to multiply with 11. So 3 into 41 is still easy to calculate, and then I can apply the trick to multiply with 11. So I have to think about a question critically and understand what is the best way to solve it, rather than just thinking, okay, what's the shortcut for this question? What's the shortcut for that question? Because it may not even exist. So in most cases, you have to know the long cut, and then only you end up appreciating the shortcut if it is available. Then speed becomes a way of life with repetition. The more questions you solve, and that is why we are putting, if you saw, almost about 1,000 questions per week. If you do it over 7 weeks, right, you have exposure that is good enough to build your speed as well. Now, the more repetition you do, you end up becoming fast. So if I solve a particular question for the very first time, okay, so now I know, okay, fine, if there is 10% discount that is given, I have to do 0.9 MP, and that is equal to SP, right? Now, the first time I might be solving this question, I take the longer approach, right? So I write, okay, MP minus 10% of MP is equal to SP. But then next time I realize that no, 10% is nothing but 100 minus 10, so that is 90. And since we are working with percentages, if I divide by 100, that gives me 0.9. So if I just do 0.9 MP, it's equal to SP. This awareness is what is required to crack the test. So you have to know, okay, how can I save steps that I end up writing on paper and only through repetition you will be able to get faster. So that's why I do more and more questions. I'm not saying of a specific type, but of a specific type, if you do, let's say 5-6 questions, after that you realize that, okay, this is the way to solve a question. If you know that and if you register it properly, you will be able to recall and apply it in whatever questions that you get. Never be conservative with attempts. So think of it. Somebody, let's say, attempts all 200 questions, right, with 80% accuracy, gets 160. Now, somebody who attempts 160 questions with 100% accuracy also gets 160. But what is the advantage in attempting 200 questions? That if on that day, for some reason, it's your lucky day, and you end up, even the questions that you randomly marked, you get some of those questions correct, you will end up scoring more than 160. So your potential score is always higher because you're attempting more number of questions. So don't be conservative with your attempts. Don't think that, okay, I'll attempt 100 questions, I'll get all of them correct or 90% of them correct. You have to attempt more and more questions genuinely to have a higher score. And finally, don't chase percentile. So when you are following this plan, a lot of you will have this temptation that how much percentile am I getting? Percentile in CET mocks is not something that you should be looking at. What you need to look at is, okay, what is the raw score that I'm getting and how far it is from, let's say, topper score in that particular test. Even if you have this much information, it's good enough. What I want you rather to chase, right, is going to be perfection. That do I know these question types very, very well? If somebody changes values or language here and there, will I be able to solve the question properly? That sort of perfection is what you need to aim for, because percentile tends to be misleading. And again, this is coming from my personal example, because when I was a student and I took the first full length test, and I realized that I scored about 130, and in Mumbai I basically topped the city. So I was very happy that, okay, I've topped the city, etc. On the leaderboard my name is there. But I had no idea that there are a lot of people who firstly haven't taken that mock and are much, much better than me, who will eventually participate in that mock taking game and will beat you at that. So I kept on getting about 130, 135 in some mocks, even less than that, maybe 110, 120, etc. All the time thinking that I'm going to do well on the test. Eventually ended up getting about 136, 137. The mistake that I did was I thought that I was doing well, right? Because of the scores that I was getting, the percentile that I was seeing. It's not about that, because you'll always have people who are putting more effort in silence. So they're somewhere, but they're putting more effort than you. So put more effort. Don't worry about percentile, but always keep a track of how much you're scoring and the gap that exists. So if you currently get a score of 150, why is that gap of 50? Is it a content issue? Is it an issue of speed? Is it issue of accuracy? If you're able to point that, if you're able to figure that out, then only you can work on it. Unless if you don't know that, then you are just trying to hit arrows in the dark, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. So you have to know where the gap is and work on that. So that's the only way you will be able to get a higher score. And that is why I strongly recommend that in the first few mocks that you take, about first 5 to 6 mocks, you should never randomly mark, because it doesn't tell you what your reality is. In fact, if I were to prepare and if I'm taking 26 mocks, what I'll do is for about first 15 to 16 mocks, I will not do random marking. I will just do genuine attempts so that I exactly know how many questions I attempted, how many I got correct, and then I will be able to, of course, look at the other questions and see how much of those questions I know, how many questions I know, and what my potential score could have been, right? So that if I'm able to spot in the first 15 mocks or so, the remaining 10 mocks is still good enough practice to ensure that you're marking all 200 questions, which is of course very, very important. So follow the things that I've mentioned. I'm sure it is going to help you. What I'll do is in the description, I will give a link to Cracking CET blog. And in a post, you'll be able to, of course, download the plan that I mentioned. But on the blog itself, you will have experiences from my past where I've taken some of these tests, and of course, the strategy elements of cracking CET. So if there are any questions, you can feel free to ask me. I'll be very happy if I can answer your questions. Thank you so much for watching. Wish all of you all the best. And again, if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, bye. Take care.